Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator here. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Just a little bit of an update at first. Dracula's Carpathian Christmas is finished and is in the pipeline to get approved on DriveThruRPG and Amazon. It's already up on Kindle. I expect the print versions to be available probably sometime later tomorrow. And, you know, hopefully drive through. It does take them several days sometimes, so first week of November is pretty much when it's going to come out. I just can't say what day yet. Anyway, though, I wanted to talk a few minutes, since most of my library is out at another house now, to talk a little bit again about Vampire the Masquerade, and in particular, what I consider to be the top 3 clans of the classic core Camarilla group of vampire clans. I guess, you know, start off, we'll get the ones that, you know, I'm not going to include on the list first and just kind of spit out why. Bruja, no. It's just Teen Angst the Vampire. Lame. Malkavians, potentially has a lot of potential there for some really interesting character concepts and character demeanors and portrayals. However, from personal experience, as is the case with a lot of crazy type character classes throughout role-playing games, the people who tend to be attracted to playing Malkavians tend to play them rather zany. And is that really looking out of your gothic vampire role-playing game? No. Toreador, like the worst stereotypes of the Anne Rice era vampire, all in one nice little package. And a close second to the Toreador in that is the Ventrue. They're slightly more tolerable in their own ways, and I do like their clan disadvantage of having to be real particular about who they feed on. But it's just kind of milquetoast, also another way. Oh, vampires manipulating politics. That's like the concept of all these vampires, basically. So, whatever. I mean, as I've said in other videos, I'm much more of a Sabbat person. You know, Werewolf the Apocalypse, the werewolves aren't all mopey and sad that they're werewolves. Mage the Ascension, they're not all mopey and sad that they're mages. Changeling, like, they desperately cling to their supernatural identity in the face of humanity. Wraith, I mean, well, they're dead, so of course they don't like it, but what are they going to do about it? But, you know, Vampire the Masquerade in its original incarnation all the way up through now is very much a product of the shadow of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, and in particular the portrayal of Louis and Lestat to a lesser degree. Lestat's kind of, in a way, the prototype for Sabbat vampires, and Louis is like the prototype for your Camarilla types. So, you know, I tend to like the clans of the Camarilla that are a bit more embracing of the monstrous aspect. So I'm going to say right off the bat, my number 3 is actually the clan that I played the most when I was a teenager and, you know, played a lot of vampire live action and shit back in the day. And that's Clan Gangrel. Obviously, as a werewolf fan, I'm going to go with the vampires that turn into wolves. Their bestial nature and loner, you know, kind of sensibilities, I feel is closer to what I want out of a vampire in terms of, like, they own that they are a creature of the night, kind of a thing. They, you know, that loner attitude does also kind of make them a, you know, bit of like a kind of a wash when it comes to like their own internal culture. They're all very individualistic, which has its pros and its cons, and that's why I'm putting them at number 3 on this top 3 list. Number 2, I'm going to say Nosferatu. Their clan disadvantage of having the horrific appearance, like, they actually have the most reason of the Camarilla vampires to be a little kind of mopey and sad about what's happened to them, because their vampiric curse is, like, you know, hypothetically, like the very worst version of it you can have, especially since it makes it really hard for them to be able to pass and move among the very population that they need to be able to move amongst in order to be able to feed. But they give you some of the things that Gangrel give you in terms of having those kind of isolated, feral kind of character concepts, potentially. The Obfuscate powers is just a fantastic discipline. You know, out of all the classic disciplines, it's you know, a personal favorite of mine. And yeah, like, they have a bit more depth of character to them. And the older versions of the White Wolf rules, where you had an appearance attribute The fact that they actually had an attribute that was entirely zeroed out was also an opportunity to actually literally play a disabled character, of at least of some sort. It's not one that's necessarily going to affect their ability to like run, jump, and do all that other kind of stuff, or their mental abilities. But it still was something. And I will say I find a little disappointment in that the current version of Vampire has changed that to now it's just a flaw that they're ugly, which just isn't really quite the same thing. But, so if you're doing a little math in your head, you can pretty much figure out that I'm going to say the number one are the Tremere, because they're voluntary vampires. Just the concept that a circle of wizards got together to hijack an entire clan of vampires and forcibly turn themselves into to replace that clan utterly is just ballsy. And as someone who, like I said, I like vampires that like the fact that they're vampires, like you don't get much more of like a conscious choice than that in terms of their overall concept. Plus, I like the idea of thaumaturgy and blood magic and all that other kind of stuff. So anyway, it was just a pretty simple little thing. My 3 favorite vampire clans of the base set. Tell me in the comments below some meaningless defense for the Toreador, and why, like, liking poetry for eternity is somehow a cool character concept. And hit like and subscribe. Keep an eye out for Dracula's Carpathian Christmas, and be sure to stay waspinated.